Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Armand and thank you for watching this video. Today we'll be talking about one of the most important things for a lot of individuals that are pursuing a new career or a new job or a new title within their company or a new organization. A lot of individuals have previously come to me and have asked, how do I go about, getting through an interview session? It's one of the things that I fear a lot. It's one of the things that I'm worried about the most. Obviously, it's a very important process, but it shouldn't be. It certainly shouldn't be. It should be fairly simple. It should be a two-way conversation. And there are things that I'm hoping that this video would help you in your pursuit of a new job, or at least to get through some of those interview process. Again, this is not going to be that difficult. I do suggest that you take maybe a pen and paper or bookmark or subscribe to this channel, and you can rewatch the video again to kind of give you a little bit more pointers as time goes by. So a couple things to remember in regards to a job interview. I'm going to be giving you guys 7 different tips, 6 to 7 different tips as far as how to get through it, what to do, what not to do, how to put yourself on top of the list of considered candidates after the whole interview. You have to accept the fact that when a job is posted, it's not just posted for you. It's probably posted for the general public so that they can have as many candidates as much as possible. So your job ultimately is to get to that top 3 list that a company is going to consider for that position. So hopefully this video will get you to the top 3 positions. Okay, so again, seven interview tips that will help you get hired. Okay. Throughout the video, I'm going to be discussing several questions that I've utilized, I've given to other individuals in the past that have worked, that actually put them on that pedestal or on top of that consideration list from a company. And their job at that point is to basically be the #1 option. And obviously there are times where it may not work. Okay, but for the most part, it will get you to that top. It's just that little push that you need to do during that interview to propel you to the #1 spot. So let's kind of get started. Even when you've gone through so many different interview in the past, going for a job interview never seems to get easier for a lot of people. It causes a lot of anxiety for many, and it shouldn't. Okay, with every single job interview, you're meeting with new people. You're trying to sell yourself, you're selling your skills, you're trying to convince somebody that you're the best candidate for that position, right? So it never gets easier. And all you really need to do is just stay calm. You need to stay calm. You need to be upbeat and also be excited through the entire process. And it could be very exhausting to do that, but still, it's a showcase. Okay, you're going for a showcase and you're showcasing yourself to this company. Okay, this can be a challenge, especially when interviewing for a job that you really want to get, and for a job that you're so excited about. You could put yourself to the point where you panic so much that you end up losing the job. Okay, so there's certain mindsets that you need to have in order to succeed in doing that. So, but remember that a job interview is not an exam. Okay, it's actually just a two-way conversation between you and the person that's doing the interview. And you have to remember that person, whether they're the hiring manager, whether they're the vice president or whatever their title is, they're just a normal person. Outside of that job or outside of that office, it's just another human being or another person that's just like you. Okay, the only difference is you're the one looking for the job, not them. Okay, so you definitely need to do certain steps that you need to prepare yourself. Okay, so researching the company is one of those key things. Now, if you're that type of person that applies for like 20 different jobs, okay, and you have interviews for 5 of them, you have to do your due diligence. You have to research that company, what that company is all about. Research their posting, the hiring post that they put, okay, and what qualifications they're looking for. You need to somehow tie that into your qualifications, your experience. Okay, you have to be embedded into it. So researching a company certainly gives you the ability to understand what that company is all about, so that you can give that same message to the interviewer or the hiring manager when you're in front of them. Okay. Ultimately, the key to an effective interview is having the confidence. Having the confidence. The confidence has to come out of you. They have to be able to feel or sense it coming out of you. Okay. You got to stay positive. No negativity in your interview. And I know that some of these questions that they ask are of a negative connotation or negative feedback per se, but your answer should always be in a positive way, even if you know that it's a negative feedback. And I'll show you some of those other ways in other videos that I have pertaining to job interviews as far as how to turn these negative questions into positive answers. Okay. And you have to be able to share examples. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you work in a food industry and you're trying to get an office job. Doesn't matter if you've never had any experience, you were a college graduate trying to get your first job. Okay, there's always a way to put you on top of the list and not just your resume. Okay, so you have to be able to share examples from your workplace or from school or from whatever it is that you accomplished. Certain, I guess, high regards. Okay, and your qualifications has to be presented. Okay, so take time to work on your interview skills. A lot of people will practice in front of a mirror. A lot of people will go inside a closet and, practice in there with their eyes closed. It doesn't matter how you practice. The key thing is practice, practice, practice. You got to remember, practice makes perfect, right? So here we go. Couple things that we're going to discuss, like I said, are the different interview tips that we're going to go through. Here are some job interview that have been effective for me and a lot of individuals that I've mentored in the past. Proper preparation will always alleviate some of the main stress. If you're prepared for the job interview, then less stress when you're in front of that hiring manager and you can kind of, I guess, get your message through or across the table. Okay. Now, there's a lot of different tactics out there. I'm just showing you the hacks that I've generated throughout the years. I've been fortunate enough that I was mentored when I was younger, and I've taken all of this information from all kinds of different types of people, whether they're self-made millionaires or whether they're CEOs or CFOs or management level individuals. I've always taken their feedback and applied it to myself and how I could better that feedback. And some of the tricks that I'm actually going to talk to you about was presented to me by a good friend of mine when I was only about 23, 24 years old. And at the time, he was a regional manager for a very, very large soda company. Okay. And he's the one that taught me a lot of these tricks and techniques. And quite honestly, anytime that I've used it, it's not one of those things where I apply for jobs and I pray that the phone would ring, that I would get a call back or something like that. No, he taught me how to write my resumes. I've improved upon that. He taught me how to get through the interviews. I've improved upon that to the point where when I apply for jobs and I go through the interviews, maybe within a week, I'm looking through several different offer jobs from these companies that I've gone through interviews for. And that's a great feeling to have, is to choose which company I'm going to choose. I mean, a lot of people will go through the problem of, oh my gosh, please call me, please call me. No, you do this right, you will be presented with offers from the companies that you interviewed for, and your job is to figure out which one is best for you. Which of these companies should you work for? Should you bring your talent to? I know it's a weird feeling to have, but it's actually really fun and exciting. So a job interview should not be a stressful event. To an extent, it is a little bit, stress, but once you get started, it isn't. Okay, practice makes perfect. You got to keep doing it over and over and over. Okay, if you fail 10 times, as long as the 11th time you succeed, the 12th you succeed, the 13th time you succeed, great. Okay, so again, practice and preparation. Practice makes perfect. Okay, review the typical job interview questions that you hear out there. Okay, I have one of those lists. You're more than welcome to look into my channel and see that video, watch that video. I encourage you to do so and have a prepared response that just comes out naturally. It's not one of those things where they ask you, tell me a little bit about yourself, and you're sitting back there trying to figure out where to start. It should always just flow out of your mouth. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Just go. Okay. So have an outline as far as what to say when they ask you those questions. What's your greatest weakness? What's your biggest weakness in your previous job? Always turn that into a positive, right? Have a prepared answer when they ask you these questions. You got to remember, a lot of hiring managers they've gone through a lot of interviews in the past, more than likely. Okay, especially HR people. They have a set questions that they always ask every candidate that comes in front of them. Okay, your job is to take those questions and make it more fun, not the typical answers that they receive, so that it takes you one step closer to that top level considerations that they have. Okay, strong answers. Okay, strong answers, not not well. I wish I could be this. No, strong answers. Strong answers basically gives that little umph. And again, going through these job interview questions, watch the job interview questions video that I have, and it will hopefully help you in that sense. Okay, now have strong answers that are specific and concise. They're specific and concise, drawing attention to a concrete example that highlights your skills. Okay, so when you're answering certain questions, you need to be specific and concise when you answer them, but they need to be they need to be emphasizing your talent. They need to be emphasizing your success. They need to be emphasizing your accomplishments from your other previous job, whether it was being a waiter or a waitress, or you worked at McDonald's but you excelled in customer service. You loved it because it exposed you to a lot of different types of people that come inside your store. It's not like you're making things up, you're just elaborating in a finer sense in front of that person, and you took pride in that. Never be ashamed of your previous job. Your previous job is what's going to get you to your next job and to your next job higher and higher. So never be ashamed of that. Always emphasize your strength, what you did right and what you did great in those previous positions. Okay, your like I said, your answers should always also emphasize the skills that you have most important to you. Okay, and it needs to be relevant. It needs to be relevant to the company. And if you've done the research on these companies, then you should be able to answer them pretty quickly. Okay, so be sure to review the job listing. The job listing that they have typically are pretty generic, but it's what they're looking for. So make sure that your answers kind of puts a little bit of a check mark in every one of those skills that they're looking for. Okay. Always be prepared. Like I said, they have a job listing. Read it and line it up with your talents and your skills and put a check mark where you basically meet those qualifications. And you need to emphasize that in front of the hiring manager. Okay. Note that even the most well-prepared response will fall short if it doesn't answer the exact question that the person is asking for. So even if you prepare your answers and you've memorized it, but you don't tie it into their question, you don't tie it into their requirement, it's not going to be enough. So you need to be able to tie it into their requirement. Okay. Also have a list of your own questions. You always know that just before the interview ends, the interviewer will always ask, "Do you have any questions for me?" Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And always have a prepared list of questions that you want to ask. I'll give you some of those questions a little bit later. These are the questions that will take you to the next level. Okay, so here we go. Secondly, develop a connection with the interviewer. So pretty much what happens is you go to the interview and you're waiting to be called, and they call you in and you're prepared, you're ready to go. Don't just walk into their office and sit down and start the interview process. Okay, no, you're not in a rush. Keep in mind that the longer the interview takes, the more comfortable and confident that you're going to be in front of that person. So typically what I do is I walk into an office, okay, and I scan the office. I scan it around. I look around to see what's at their table, what's in their walls. Oh, what are the things that's inside their office? Their office is like their little home away from home. So look around and see what you can relate to. Even if it's something that you don't do, relate to it. So for example, I see, I go into an office, I see a golf club in the corner and a little bit of a putt that they practice basically, on the green, right? They practice inside their office on their downtime. Well, I look at that and just make a simple comment. Well, that's a nice set. I always wish that I could actually play golf seriously, but for the most part, what I do is I like to do the scramble. I like to play with maybe 4 or 5 other individuals and hit the best of the ball. And they always laugh about that comment because obviously I'm taking their interest and putting my interest into it, showing them that there's a little bit of a slight connection there, right? But if I see someone with, let's say, a fishing gear, I love fishing. Okay, if I see a fishing gear in there or a fish in the wall or a fishing picture, then a conversation can spark. Delay what I'm really doing is I'm delaying the interview as long as possible to build a rapport. The longer that the interview is delayed, the more rapport that you're going to build. Do you see a picture of a baby? Oh my gosh, how old is she? 6 months old. Well, my daughter is, or my son is. Oh, I remember those days. Yep, non-sleep, right? I get it. I feel your pain. So hopefully this would be a little bit easier for you today, right? Anything that you see that you could actually relate to or make a positive comment about, okay? They love those things. They'll talk about those things. Those are their hobbies. Those are their families, okay? It's not like you're probing. It's not like you're trying to investigate or anything like that. No, you're just a human being trying to make a connection with another person, okay? So building a rapport is very, very, very important, okay? A personal connection with the interviewer always goes a long way. That again takes you one step higher to the top of the list, okay? Just look around the office and see what's around there, and obviously just realize that it's just you and a person talking. It just happens to be that you're there because of a job interview, but it doesn't mean that it has to be all serious and kind of like robot or no, not at all. You just have to relax, and by talking about your interests, you will end up relaxing just because it's something that you and the interviewer can relate to. Okay, number three, certainly you need to research the company. Okay, and show what you know. Don't just go into a job interview blind. It's as simple as that. You have to know what the company is looking for, and you have to be able to tie that to you. You have to be able to tie that to your success, your experience, your skills, your knowledge. KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities. You have to be able to tie what the company is looking for to your KSAs. Okay. Again, hopefully you're taking notes on some of these things because, like I said, I will give you a little bit more information a little bit later. If the question is not asked, you should always try to demonstrate what you know about the company. Even if the person says, they started the interview and things like that, and they did not ask you, so what do you know about our organization? A lot of interviewers, they will ask you that. Oh, thank you for coming in. Let me ask you this. What do you know about XYZ company? You should be able to spit that out. If they don't ask that question, you have to be able to bring it back around and come back to that and say, you know what I love about this company? Okay, based on what I've done in regards to research and learning about the company and what it's all about, I love the fact that this company does such and such. You bring it back to that and let them see that you went above and beyond their expectation. They love seeing those things. Okay, so other example is I might say, I noticed that when you implemented it's a technology company. I noticed that when you implemented a new software in the system, your customer rate satisfaction rate went higher. Okay, I noticed that when you implemented a new division in your company, your sales propelled or escalated and brought you to the top 10 or top 20 companies to work for in the United States, or whatever the case may be. Always have something good to say about that company. It shows that you've done some research and you were very, very interested in that organization. That takes you one more click up. Okay, you have to make your comments pretty much very concise and precise. Okay, and it shows dedication on your part. Okay, you should be able to find a lot of information about the company, history, mission statements, values, and their staff, their culture. And quite honestly, in the past, for a company that I really, 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 really want to get a job at, and I really, really want to get hired in that organization because I know what they can do and I know that I'm going to fit in really well. I know it may sound stalking, but it's what I have to do. Before the interview, like maybe a day or 2 days before the actual interview, I would call the front desk, I would call the staff, I would call the HR department and say, hey, I have an interview with David tomorrow, and I'd like to know, what is he all about? I'd like to know a little bit more of how or whatever it is that you're trying to discover, or the HR asking about what the company is looking for as far as the perfect candidate. Bottom line, here's what's going to happen. You think that you're just asking that person that, right? But in reality, in the back end of the situation, you want this person to go to David and say, hey, David, Armand called me yesterday, and actually, it's kind of weird because he was asking me, if there was any suggestions I can give for him to do well in your job interview today. And I found out a little unique because not very many people do that. Okay, so right off the gate, David is going to have a good feedback about you already, and you haven't even gone there yet. You haven't even met David yet. And all of a sudden, there's already positive feedback about this. Now, even if you don't mean it, just call people. The David's secretary. Hey, I understand that you're David's secretary. Can you tell me a little bit about your boss? I want to know, what is it that he likes, don't like, things that would help me during my job interview tomorrow. Even that secretary would feel a little bit weird. Guess what she's gonna do? She's gonna tell David, "Hey, David, Armand called me and was just kind of wondering how is it, how is it working for you, and what to expect." Okay, these things will put you one more click above all the rest. Okay, you should do a lot of research. Do a lot of research for a lot of these companies. Now, this could sound a little tedious, but I guarantee you, if you do all of these different steps, you don't really have to go through a lot of different interviews. You just go to the interviews that you really do want the job from. And if you go to 5 interviews and you get 3 job offers, that's a perfect situation. If you go to 5 interviews and you get 5 job offers, yeah, that's going to be a couple of sleepless nights trying to figure out where to go and which company to accept the offer from. But that's a good problem to have instead of, it's been 2 weeks, I have no response. Okay, I'd rather have the first, situation instead. Okay, now, number 4, you always have to get ready ahead of time. Okay, pick out what you're gonna wear or outfit for that interview, and I have a video on the perfect outfit for every type of interviews. You cannot wear a suit when you're going to a manufacturer's interview. Okay, to be a lead person or supervisor or whatever, they're very casual over there. A tie, a shirt, perfectly fine. But you can't be casual when you're going to an office interview. You have to be wearing a suit, right? Also, the colors of what you're wearing says a lot of things, okay? Avoid the black. Black is gloomy, right? White, completely neutral. Blue is the most popular color to go to a job interview for, just because blue is, it's not really completely neutral, but there's something about blue that's easy on the eyes. It's a lot easier to look at somebody wearing blue versus wearing black, or especially red. Never wear red to a job interview. Okay, red means stop, but that doesn't mean wear green, because green means go. No, green is a little bit more of a touchy thing. You have to be a little courageous to wear that. Okay, I typically wear blue, light blue, somewhere in that neighborhood to kind of give that little neutral situation. Okay, so you always have to be ready ahead of time. Prepare it the night before. Don't try to prepare your clothes the day of the interview. That's just bad ethics. Okay, that's just bad practice. You want to make sure that everything is okay the night before, so that you can take the time to practice the day of, on the way of, but also have the time to relax on things. Okay, always print extra copies of your resume. Don't ever go to a job interview with one set of resume only. Always have 2, 3, 4, 5, so that when the HR manager asks for it, you can give it. On your way to the interview manager, you can give it again. Okay, or oops, they spilled something on it. Not to worry, I've got another one, I've got an extra one. Show preparation. Okay, never go to a job interview blank, without a bag or a folder or a pen to write with or anything like that. Always be professional is what I'm saying. Okay, have one good interview outfit ready the day before, just to make sure everything is set. Okay, now planning basically kind of gives you a little bit more time to react to changes that might come up. Okay, make sure your interview attire is neat and tidy and appropriate for the firm that you're going to. Like I said, a high school graduate going for their first job at a firm, and they seem to be a casual workplace. Wear casual. If you're not sure, it's easy. Call the HR department and just ask, is your company a casual attire organization? Okay, I have a job interview with David tomorrow. I just want to make sure that I'm not overly dressed. I don't want to put any tension on anyone. So could you tell me what is the typical attire for anyone that goes for a job interview in your office? And they'll tell you. They'll help you out. And again, guess what? That person will call David and say, hey, this person took it a step ahead, another notch on the totem pole. Okay, so number 5, always be on time. And when I say on time, be early. Okay, that doesn't mean your interview is at 9 a.m. and you arrive at 9 a.m. Okay, no, you want to arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. Sometimes what I do is I actually arrive about maybe 30 to 45 minutes early. I'll just stay at the parking lot, kind of get my rhythm going, get my get my mojo, I guess, per se, moving, so that you're prepared for it, you're warmed up, do a little bit of your preparation, and then of course go upstairs or go to the building about 10-15 minutes early. When they come in and they say, oh, you're a little bit early. Oh, that's okay. I'd rather be early than late. Okay, I'd rather be early or on time. Okay, so at least show preparation. Okay, number 6, when it really does happen, you just gotta stay calm. That's it. It's that simple. Practice makes perfect. The more that you do this, it'll allow you to be a little bit more calmer in front of somebody, and it'll allow you to do very, very well. And like I said, when you enter someone's room, scan the room and look for something that will break the ice. Look for something that will break the ice, that will allow you to have a short conversation, one-on-one with this person without having the title of interviewee and interviewer. Okay, just two people talking, that will basically allow you to stay calm and relax during the job interview. You got to remember that your body language says a lot about you. Your body language says 1,000 words about you. Okay, and for me, as you notice, I talk with my hands. I like to talk with my hands just because it keeps me calm. It keeps my blood flow going, and it makes it a lot easier to enunciate certain words that I want to say. It makes it a lot easier to express what I want to say and put a little bit more emphasis and feeling behind it. But your body language certainly does say a lot of things about you. You can't just sit there and be stiff. You sit there and be stiff, they're gonna feel uncomfortable. Emulate. I say emulate. Okay, emulate or copy the movements that the person is doing. If they're sitting back and relax, sit back and relax. If they've got their hand on the table as they're talking to you, put one of your hands on the table, talk with them as well. I don't mean to copy what they're saying and to be like a mirror, but similarly emulate what they're doing, because number one, people like to talk to people that are similar to them to an extent, okay? Not exactly the same, but similar to them, because they can relate to those individuals because they see their actions in you, okay? Like I said, when I talk about what I see in the room, they have this sense that I'm interested in the same things that he or she's interested in, okay? But when you do the same body language that they do, obviously it makes it a lot easier, a more comfortable conversation to have with that person, okay? As you answer the questions that they ask you, maintain eye contact with them. Always pay attention to the question that they have. Be an active listener. Listen to the questions that they're asking you, and kind of evaluate that in your head and figure out what exactly is this person, asking me, okay? And of course, active listening means you're listening behind the screen. You're listening, you're looking out for what's being said between the lines, okay? And of course, when they ask me a question, I always respond in a certain way. Okay, this is something that you may want to try. Okay, I always start my response as, you know what, I'm so glad that you asked that, David. It's interesting that you asked that, or I love the fact that you asked me that. Okay, these comments or these things just before I answer the question kind of gives them the impression of, oh wow, this person really prepared for this question, right? But if you actually do that in several aspects of the interview, it's gonna show confidence on coming out of you. It's going to exert confidence out of you, and they're gonna feel that confidence. Okay, just imagine what those words mean. All right, this person is asking me a question, and I reciprocate by saying, you know what, I'm so glad that you asked me that. I get to tell you exactly how I succeeded in my previous job in that aspect of my responsibilities. Okay, I'm so glad that you asked me that. Something that I really love talking about just because of my success or my confidence in that particular responsibilities that I had with my previous employer or my current employer. Okay, so again, I'm glad you asked me that. Thank you for asking. Whatever the case may be, respond with that, and I guarantee you it'll take you one notch higher to your next step. Okay, now there are tips that I have on avoiding interview stress. I suggest that you watch those, because a lot of people really do have very, very, very high anxiety or high stress when they're going for a job interview, and you shouldn't have to be. Okay, there's a lot of easier ways to do that. Now, the biggest thing is obviously following up after the job interview. It's important that you follow up with the job interview. Okay, you follow up with them and ask them, and give them thanks for giving you the time to present yourself and of course your qualifications to the organization. You can include details that you may have forgotten, that you may have missed during the interview. You might want to reiterate certain aspect of why you're the best qualified individual for the position that they're looking for. So those things definitely help. Now, if you interview with multiple individuals, and there are a lot of firms that do this, first interview is with a HR manager. Second interview is with the hiring or the department manager. The last interview is the division manager. I mean, it's like step-by-step levels, right? Send all of them a thank you letter. It doesn't hurt, because what's going to happen is they're all going to talk about it. Guess what? If you interview with that many people, guess what they have to do? They interviewed with so many different people as well, right? So they all have to go in a room and say, okay, let's make a decision who we're gonna hire. Oh, you know what? I really like Armand. I got this letter from him. Oh yeah, I got the same letter from him too. Oh yeah, I did too. Everybody, don't leave anybody behind, okay? If there's 3 people that interviewed you, send all of them a thank you letter. You wanna put yourself above all the rest, is what I'm saying. Now, all of these tips and tricks, others may be doing it. It's not. This is not a secret, okay? Others are doing this, okay? It's not like it's the first time that it ever came out. That's okay, but at least you get to be with the top of the list. Now, what I'm gonna show you next is what takes you to the top of the list. It's what takes you to the cream of the crop, okay? Everyone could watch this video and say, I already do all those things. I already do all those things. I already do all of these practices. Anyone watching this video can say that, right? And oh yeah, it does work. I've done that. It does work. But they still compete with a lot of heavy hitters or heavy players when they're doing job interviews, right? Now, what I'm going to show you is actually going to take you to the top of the list. Grab a pen and paper or bookmark this video or subscribe to this channel so that you can always go back to it, because this you're going to want to hear. Bonus tips, okay? The 5 things, okay? Bottom line is, at the very end of your job interview, you will be asked if you have any questions for them, okay? They can ask you 101 questions, but at the very end, just before the interview ends, you're going to be asked, do you have any questions for me? The answer is yes, I certainly do. And I'm truly hoping that you can help me with this. So write this down. Number 1, you're going to want to ask that person, how long have you been with the company? David, how long have you been with the company? Just ask it naturally. Okay? Even if it's written on a piece of paper, it's there because you don't want to forget asking it. It's preparation, right? But ask it naturally. How long have you been with the company, David? They're going to answer you. I've been with the company for 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is. You don't, well, I don't want to say this, but typically you don't care what they say. They've been with the company for 6 months. They've been with the company for 10 years. They've been with the company for whatever it is, appreciate it. They've been there for such a short period of time. Oh my gosh, you've been here for 6 months? Wow, you must have done really well to be in this position. Oh, and then they're going to talk about why they're in that position. You've been here for 20 years. Oh my goodness, you were one of the founding fathers of the company. Now, the company's been around for 50 years. Now, I was just kidding, David. Totally just a joke, but you've been here for such a long time. You know every aspect of this business, I'm assuming. Great, that's good, that's good. Second question I have, David, hopefully you don't mind. I do want to ask, what made you accept the opportunity with this company? What made you 20 years ago or 6 months ago accept the opportunity that was presented to you? What made you come to this company? They're going to talk about it. They're going to talk about it. They're going to talk about themselves. Just sit back, hang tight, hold the chair down, because they're not going to stop. Okay? They're going to be so proud of their company. They're going to be so proud of their company. They're going to brag about it. Think about it, right? If you're asking them what made you come to this organization, they have to. By law, they have to brag about their company. They have to, because if they don't brag about their company, then that means that they don't like their company or they shouldn't be with their company, right? No, they're going to brag about it. It's that simple, okay? Just wait until they're done, which could be 2 minutes or it could take as long as 10 minutes. I've had somebody literally go through a while answering that question, and I'm like, okay, just keep going, just keep going. But now you're, again, 1 tick up, right? And the third question that I asked is, David, I appreciate you giving me the time today. I had a lot of fun, but I do have to ask, based on what we talked about today, what do you think? What do you think is the most qualifies me for this position, David? I mean, I just want to know, from my experience that we talked about today, what do you think qualifies me the most for this position that you have? Now, you're testing them if they were paying attention to you. Now you're asking them, do you remember what I said, David? And now they have to say it out loud. Guess what happens when someone says things out loud? When someone says things out loud, it basically ingrains in their head. Now, David is saying great things about you to you, not realizing that David is telling himself that you're the best candidate for the job. Okay, I know. It's psychological, right? Number one, you're forcing David to remember everything that you guys talked about. Number one. Number two, if he doesn't remember, it doesn't matter because he has to make stuff up to you. And if he doesn't have to make stuff up to you, he's ingraining those great things about you to you and in his head. Okay, so I know, right? So again, that's the third question that I asked is based on what we talked about today, what do you think most qualifies me for this position? That's the number three. Number four, I know this one's going to be a little bit of out there. Just have the guts to say these, okay? Just have the guts to actually ask this question, okay? David, if I was to accept an offer from your organization or your company, what resources are you willing to provide to ensure that my transition to your company or your department is smooth? What type of resources are you going to put in front of me to ensure that I transition well in the first 2 weeks, in the first month, in the first 90 days? I want to do my job really well, and I want to know what kind of resources I have to look forward to. Now he's going to really brag about his department, right? He's going to really brag about all the great things about his company. Great. Okay? And last but not least, to close the day, just before you leave, thank you so much for your time, David. It was very enlightening. I learned a lot about your company. I thought I knew a lot about your company by doing my research and by, probing a little bit. But you certainly, shed some light into some of the great things about your organization. Thank you so much for your time today. But before I leave, I just want to ask you the final question that I have. When could I expect to receive an offer from your organization? When can I expect a decision to be made based on my qualifications? Now they have to answer you with what their timeline is. You deserve you deserve answers to these questions because you gave your time and your availability to go to this job interview, and they have to give you in return the same effort. Okay, again, an interview is a two-way street. You're giving them a chance to ask you questions, but they have to give you a chance to ask them questions. So these are the 5 things I always ask before I leave, because it will tell if you were on the top 5 qualified members or qualified candidates for this job, you are now on the top 2, and the person that's above you probably has more qualifications than you. But if you are willing to learn, if you're willing to pursue your desires, they may hire you before they hire that person, because it shows that you are so into getting this job and being a part of their organization that they would want you more than the person that is overly qualified. Okay, so again, the 5 questions that I ask typically are: number 1, how long have you been with the company? Number 2, what made you accept the job opportunity with this company when they hired you? Number 3, based on what we talked about today, what do you think most qualifies me for this position? Number 4, if I was to accept an offer from your organization or from you, what resources will you be providing to ensure that my transition to this organization or to your department is smooth? And then last but not least, when can I expect to receive an offer from you? There you have it, folks. The hacks of a job interview. And believe me, it has worked, I don't even know how many times, countless times. I was fortunate enough that I was able to transfer some of this knowledge to a lot of friends and a lot of individuals that I've come across throughout the years. Now you all have it, and I appreciate your time for watching this. Please check out the other videos that's on my channel pertaining to job interviews and professional business development topics. And I wish you good luck. And if you have any questions, please make sure that you comment on the bottom, and I'll do my best to get to your question and respond to you directly. If you have any topics that you want me to discuss pertaining to business development and professional growth, and of course other job interview questions, please let me know, and I'll do my best to answer those questions as well. Other than that, good luck, and have a nice day.